Hey guys, so in this video, we're going to create a FastAPI app using which we're going to perform all the CRUD operation, that is create, retrieve, update and delete, and we are going to use PostgreSQL as our database. Also, I'm using Pydantic for the data validation part. So welcome to my channel. I'm your friend Rahul. Let's get started. Now to install Postgres, Google Postgres download and click on this link, the Enterprise DB. And from here, based on your operating system, you can download all. I have downloaded this macOS and installed the same. Let's have a look on it. Now, once PG admin is installed and you can see this screen, then simply click on the server, enter the password. By default, the password is password. So we'll simply copy and paste it here. Let's click OK. And now we can see the default settings are here. Now we have to create a new database in order to proceed. So we'll simply right click and click on this create database. And let's name this database as bookstore. And save this. Now here we can see our bookstore database is created. Now let's go to our code and write code in order to create book table and perform CRUD operations on it. So let's go to our VS Code. So now these are all the required packages that we are going to use in order to create FastAPI with Postgres. Let's create a Python environment and install all these packages. So for creating Python environment, we'll write here Python -m venv and venv. Let's press enter. Now let's activate this environment. For that, we'll write source venv/bin and activate. Right. So this has activated our environment. Now let's install all these packages from requirements.txt. So we'll write here pip install -r and requirements.txt. So now we have set up all our environment and installed all our packages. So let's start coding. So let's set up our database first. For that, we'll click on this plus and create a file named db.py. So db.py. Now inside this, let's import all our dependencies. Now we are importing create engine from SQL Alchemy, and from SQL Alchemy.orm, we are using session maker and declarative base. So now let's define the database URL that we use. SQL Alchemy database URL equals. So URL of this database is going to be PostgreSQL. And here we have to write the username. By default, username is Postgres. So we'll write Postgres. And password is password by default. And after this, we'll define the server and the port at which this Postgres is running. So we'll write here localhost 5432. So 5432 is the default port number that PostgreSQL uses. And from here, we are going to use the database that we have just created, that is bookstore. Now let's create the engine out of this. So we'll write here engine, and this equals create engine. And we'll pass in this URL of our database. So we'll simply copy and paste it here. So now let's create the local session for this. So we'll write here session local, and this equals session maker. And inside session maker, we'll write auto commit as false, then auto flush as false, and we're going to bind this engine, right, and save this. Now base equals declarative base, right? Let's save it. Now here we are defining this engine which help us connect with this Postgres URL that we have defined, and then we are using this session maker. This session maker help us perform actions on our database, and here we have set auto commit and auto flush as false, which means that until and unless we are not specifying that we want to commit these changes, the changes will not be reflected in the database. And at the end, we are simply binding this engine created here to this session. Now here this declarative base will help us create the tables that we are going to use in the code. So we have defined base as well. Now at the end, let's define a function using which we are going to perform all the actions. So we'll write here get db. So get db, and in this we are not going to pass anything. Here db equals, and we'll use this session local. So session local, and after this we'll write try and yield db. And finally, close the database. So we'll write db.close. Using this getDB, we're going to initialize the session and perform all our actions. And at the end, we're going to define another function which will help us create all our tables. So we'll write here create table. And in this create table, we'll simply write base.metadata.create all. So simply create and all. And inside this, we'll again write bind equals engine and save this. Now using this db.py, we are able to connect with our database and create a session, and also we have defined the base. So now let's define the tables of our database. So for that, we're going to create another file named models.py. So models.py. So the first thing that we need is the base. So we'll write here from db import base. After this, from SQL Alchemy, import, and we'll import integer, column, and string. And these all will be used for defining the table. So let's define the table here. So we'll write here class and book, and we'll inherit the base. So we'll write here base, and then the table name will be _table name, _ equals, and we'll define the table name. So let's write books, and here we are going to define all the attribute of this books. So we'll write here id equals column, and this column will be of type integer, and this will be also primary key. So primary key true. We are also going to index this. So we'll write here index true. And after this, we'll define the title. So title equals column again, and this will be of type string. So string, and we're also going to index this. So we'll write here index equals true. Now we'll simply copy this and paste it. Here it will be description. So description, the author. So author, the release year. So we'll write here year. And this will be of type integer. So integer. And we're not going to index this column. So we'll simply write integer and save this. So now we have defined our table, that is book, and inside book we have id, title, description, author, and year. So let's open our shell and create this book using this create table. So we'll write here ipython. Here we are going to import our db and models. So let's do that. And then we'll simply write db.createDB. Let's enter this. So I have misspelled it. So let's go and make it as create. Save this. We have to rerun it. So we'll have to exit first. Clear this. Again, open Python. Import db models. And then create table. Right? So now if you see, we have successfully executed this command. Let's exit this. And now let's open our pgadmin and see whether this specific table is created or not inside our this database, that is bookstore, right? So now here we can see our bookstore database is created, but inside this we can't see the tables. So let's right click and refresh it. And inside schemas now we can see that we have tables here. Let's double click and see. Now we have this books table, and inside this columns here we can see that we have id, title, description, author, and year. So our database is created and we have created the tables. Now let's move on and define the schemas using which we are going to communicate with our API and the database. So let's do that. So let's minimize it. Now from here, let's create another file named schemas.py, right? And here we are going to use Pydantic to validate the database. And if you are new to Pydantic, I have created one video. You can go and have a look how we can use Pydantic to validate complex data structures. So we'll write here from Pydantic.